Ma'am, would you mind telling me who you are?
Not at all. Elizabeth Ellen Ann Parks Grinton.
Now, what are we doing here today?
We are making a recording that should prove fruitful or helpful for many, many generations to come after me. Because the story that I'm about to tell you is about my line or my family, generations past me. And I happen to come along at a time when it's possible to make records and to show pictures that my foreparents didn't have the opportunity to do. Therefore, they could not leave history for me in print, in tape, nor in records. They could not reach a recording studio. But today I'm so fortunate to be able to work with you and to tell you and to count some things that I want done for the children who follow me. Being a member of the fifth generation of the slave Judith, and that is grandmother there.
Okay.
The beginning is here. It lies with Judith Barber, the slave girl that was brought into Wilkes County. I'm not able to tell you the exact year that she was brought here, but she was purchased by Mr. Richard Barber, Wainwright, who was a white gentleman slave owner in the Wilkes County area. And that can be found in many of the history books and from the archives in Washington, D.C. That's where we have copies, and it tells the number of slaves that he owned, and it did a lot in helping us to trace things about Judith. Being about 12 years old of age when she came, that census, a copy that I'm holding in my possession and so marked, will let the family know after me where to find and to read the census copy. I'd like it taped for fear something happens and there are destructions that take things away from us and history is lost forever. But this being the mother of us all. Now, names below will not mean the entire family group of Judith. It means one line of one daughter of hers. So, Judith, being the mother of these 13 names across here, Bob, there are 13. This being the oldest one, Lucy, and we believe Laura followed, Mimie, Mary, and perhaps an infant baby that died. Clara, Sue, and don't forget this one, Sue, because this one is the same Sue that I'm going to bring here. After Sue, Martha, perhaps another infant, Alice, Rachel, an infant, and Eliza. Eliza is the baby girl. This one I knew. All right? Let's go back again.
Okay.
Judith's log cabin was on the property of Mr. Barber's, and many of us have walked there to the site, and we've seen it, and they should be able to carry on in history to know exactly where this log cabin was situated in the East Cairo community, just back of what was then or now called the Old Gentry store. There are many homes all through that section, and there stands on that property where this cabin was a huge black walnut tree. It's still there. It was last year, and the lady allowed us to go down and to see. Some members got, not this time, but had gotten years before, a sprig of that tree and grew one from it. Things are very valuable and can be done that way. Again, Judith was the mother of 13. And by the way, you did not hear me call a boy's name. If there was a boy, it had to be one of these infants that died at birth. And only girls, 13 girls. As a matter of fact, that's what they've said through history, that she had no boys. It was expected and hoped that she would produce boys, because the boys could till the earth and help with the farming. But girls, no. These girls became house girls, housekeepers. And in so being, they learned all of the arts of housekeeping from the mother, who was taught by the mistress. The mistress, I'm not sure it wasn't Miss Mary Barber. I'm not sure, so I'm not going to say that. I'll just say the mistress, that she had taught her many things, and she in turn taught these daughters. It was sort of a carry-all or carry-over. Another little incident while I'm at this point, I'm going to tell you about the general story, because one day, Bob, I hope to get every daughter's family tree set up. I want to set it up because if you have it, then you know and don't have to wonder and who said this. Here it is. This is actually the way it was. And I'm very fortunate to have had a chance to get it done for one daughter, which was in my line. I'm not selfish, it's just that this line began the Judy Barber tribe reunion. We did. This line of mine. I wondered why reunions could be held all around us, honoring their aged and loved ones, and we didn't. So I said, let's get busy and do something about it. I'll tell you what we'll do. I took just my mother and my 2 aunts and 1 uncle, and we went around on Thanksgiving to visit each other. This year at my house, next year at Aunt Beulah's, next year at Aunt Lula's, next year at Uncle Bill's. And we just kept going around in this circle, but we were wasting time because there were so many more relatives that we could bring in to have Thanksgiving lunch with us or dinner. That was the way this reunion got started. Honoring Judith. And I have a private picture of the first one that was held outside a home down at the old Lincoln Heights school gym, and it carries history, okay?
Yeah.
Now, go back again.
Okay.
Number 1, Mammy Judy. I'm going to say this daughter is not the number 1 child, but she's about the 5th or 6th child, and her name was Sue. Now, Sue married a Barber, Frank. Sue married Frank Barber, and Sue is the daughter of Judith. There to here. So that makes 1, 2 already. 2 generations. Mammy's number 1, in my case, and Sue is number 2. Let me tell you a little about Frank so that you'll know that because Sue becomes a Barber, this one's a Barber. Well, the master of Frank was named Mr. Barber, and the master of Judith was named Barber. These 2 white brothers owned slaves, and the slaves took the name of the master. I don't care what his name was, Lumumba or what have you. When he got here, he was a Barber, because that was simpler to keep the record. Sue married Frank Barber, and later I shall add underneath a date that they were married, because I can get the record locally. I can get it from Reverend McKenzie, who is presently the pastor of the Episcopal Church in Wilkesboro. And I saw him yesterday, by the way, which makes me know we talk together a lot. He has in a Bible in the North Carolina National Bank This is important. North Carolina National Bank holds in the vault a Bible belonging to the Episcopal Church when the master was a preacher. And these records are kept there, of course, secure from fire and theft. I have had my hands on it. It was brought out to the Episcopal Church, and we were allowed, some of my relatives and I, were allowed to go and see. And in there, it's so exciting because you see these names, and you see when the baby was born, you see the date of the baptism. It's really worth this bit of history being given to my people to follow, because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know it was available. And also, in the Wilkes County Heritage, produced about 1984, you know that book, it carries an account of Judith's life placed right behind that of the master, about mid-book. And it's a big black heritage, Wilkes County. Okay? Now we know why we're called Barbers. That was not Judith's slave name, but that's all we have to go on is the master's name. The master had a granddaughter, and it so happens that she's still alive at this date, and her name is Miss Margaret. Miss Margaret gave me a chance to talk with her. She tried to find records for us. She was very interested, most helpful. And she said, Libby, Aunt Judy, I knew. And I sat at her knee, and she taught me stories. And I have that on tape, and I'm going to give you the tape to do something with it, Mr. Pate, so that we will have more than one copy of my conversation with the master's granddaughter. And at that time, her sister was alive, Miss Elizabeth. And they had a sister named Miss Mamie, who was a great school teacher. And Miss Mamie taught white girls, and it was called the finishing school. And in a finishing school, the girls of the wealthy farmers or whomever came to Miss Mamie's and lived. And that spot is down now near Sturdivant's funeral home. That was Barber Plantation, by the way, in that day. Belonged to Mr. Barber's family. All of the bottom land was corn or what have you. But that's where the slave people worked. And the last time I counted on that sheet, I think there were like 37 slaves belonging to this gentleman. Okay, in order that I don't leave the story too far, I'll go back again and say that 1, Sue is number 2, and I'm going to follow Sue and not talk about Frank too much. We know she married Frank Barber, yes, but that's another set of Barbers belonging to another set of another master. So I'm going to tell you about Sue's children and Frank's children, because she did have boys and girls. Here we are. Let's look at this. 1, 2, come over to their children, Ellen. This is important to me, just as all of these names are, but that one is very important to me because this is my grandmother. My grandmother. This is number 3, the 3rd generation of Judith. 1st generation, 2nd generation Sue, 3rd generation Ellen. So Ellen had her sister Lily, Aunt Lila, Aunt Judy, Aunt Clara, Uncle Alfred, Uncle Nathan, and Aunt Belle. We called her Aunt Belle, but it's Isabel. Let's go again. My grandmother Ellen had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole brothers and sisters, and this is a half brother, Nathan. But Nathan was reared with these all across here. That's the baby daughter of Frank and Sue. Alfred was, that's the daughter, and this is the baby son of these two, this union. Okay? The first child is my grandma, Ellen. Now, when I say Ellen, I'm showing the relationship of cousins and relatives. If this is your mama's sister or your mama's brother, then you are cousins down here, and that's first cousins. All of these are my first cousins. But let's see my line live. Just live. 1, 2, 3. There had to be a 4 someplace. So come on to Ellen. You see these children's names who are in red? That means they are deceased. Josephine, Lola, William, Julia, Jeru, and Aunt Beulah. Aunt Beulah's name is in blue. She's alive today. I just spoke to her this morning. Today is November 20th, 1986. I didn't give her age. I just said Aunt Beulah's still alive. That's my Aunt Jeru, deceased. Aunt Jewel died. Uncle Bill died. My mother's gone, and Aunt Lou's gone. Ellen had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 children. Now watch the line of Josephine. Let's take her. She's the second child of Ellen. It comes down and crosses. Now it goes into their children. These are the children of Ellen, Ellen's grandchildren, Ellen's great-grandchildren. You got it? Mm-hmm. Now, any of these that have children down here will be great-grandchildren. Willie Mae has a daughter that will be a great-grandchild. You see how the chart needs to be updated? Mm-hmm. Life goes that way. There's birth and there's death. Mm-hmm. All right? Follow again. Take Aunt Lola. See where the star goes in where it says Bill? Mm-hmm. Bill is alive. Flora's alive. James and Carolyn. Now Aunt Lou, there is Aunt Lou. Mm-hmm. Her deceased children are Rebecca. We just lost Mary Louise this year. Mm-hmm. And Isidore and Henry. But these children are alive. Rebecca left 2 children. That's blue. Mm-hmm. You see these children fitting under Rebecca?
Mary Alice and Anthony, is that right?
That is correct. Under Mary Louise,
Betty.
Isidore did not have children. Henry did not. And then we come down from Josephine. Look at that. Mm-hmm. All the way down, pass by my cousins, and come in to me. I'm alive. Now this child underneath is alive, and her name is Tempia. But I have left out underneath this Sally Ann. Sally Ann, my adopted sister, was the daughter of Rebecca. She belongs right under there. But my mother adopted Sally. Therefore, Sally is my half-sister, and this little girl is Sally's daughter, Tempia. She's alive in Henderson, North Carolina. Okay. Right? Go back up here to William. Okay. See William right here?
Got it.
Come right down, and he has 1 child, Willie Mae. Uh-huh. Now, Willie Mae has 2 children that are not listed, and I shall put them under. 1 is still alive, and 1 is deceased.
What are their names? Or what was that one's name is dead, and the one that's alive now? You know?
Yes. I'll come back to it.
Okay, okay.
I'll come back to it.
Okay. Now,
Laisel Jean's name will be written in red
okay.
underneath Willie Mae. Sandra is her daughter who lives in Taylorsville or in that area in blue.
Okay.
Laisel Jean will go right there, and Sandra. Those are Willie Mae's children, and there are no grandchildren for Willie Mae as yet. Now, I'm going to tell you what my generation, how I stand. 1 for me,
Right.
2, 3,
Uh-huh.
4,
Uh-huh.
and Elizabeth, 5. I'm the 5th generation from Mammy Judy. My mother, Josephine. My grandmother, Ellen. My great-grandmother, Sue. My great-great-grandmother, Judy.
Okay.
Anybody can do the same thing with his family. I'm going to look at one more. This is important.
Okay.
Lily was Ellen's sister. She had one daughter, Mabel. Therefore, Mabel is the first cousin of all of these across here. See, Mabel is not my first cousin. She was my mother's first cousin.
Mm-hmm.
All of these are children of sisters and brothers all the way across. Then, if that's true, where are the children of these first cousins? Drop down and you'll find them. Here they are. Aunt Lily's one daughter had one daughter. Her name was Sadie. Lila had all of these children: Bryce, Ada, Mary Lily, Isabel, Julius, June, Mabel, Hazel, and John. John died. But all of them moved down and are the second cousin of Sadie. All across here are second cousins to Sadie. They can't be first cousins because my mama was the first cousin to her mother. Therefore, Sadie is my mother's second cousin. She's the second cousin to all of these that are still alive because they couldn't be first cousins because these are first cousins. You get the point?
Got it.
That's the way you do it. If you don't, you'll lose and say, oh no, oh yes, oh yes. Aunt Judy, these are Mama's first cousins and Aunt Beulah's first cousins and straight across. But they are Mabel's first cousins straight across. But they're second to Sadie. They can't be first. They've got to be second. That's a lesson I've been trying to get over. This sister Clara, long story, and I'm going to do this separately, had a little girl, and her name was Clara. They named her Little Clara after her mother. Her mother died, and this lady went and got the little girl and brought her home and raised her with her girl.
Lily.
Lily. Aunt Lily brought little Clara home with her and took care of her with Mabel. Therefore, this child felt like Aunt Lily was her mother and Mabel was her sister. That's what happens in families. That's when you have togetherness and love and you look after the family. Look after your family if you never have a chance to go to town. See that your family is okay. The first rule is to look after your home and then spread abroad the good that you do. So, I looked at Uncle Alfred. Uncle Alfred had 2 sons. He had 3 sons really, and 1 daughter. Malcolm lives next door to me, just below me right here. The one that just rang on the telephone. Just so happened he must have felt that I was working on something that had him involved. And his sister, Cora Alice. 2 boys are deceased and 2 children are left. Uncle Alfred I knew and loved very well. These children are half cousins, half first cousins, because of the relationship of Uncle Nath unto all of these. He was considered a half-brother. As a matter of fact, Uncle Nath, was a barber, and Mammy took him and took care of him.
Mammy Judy.
Yes, she did. She took care of him and raised him, and Mr. Barber liked him and was very good to him and gave him land that's right here on the highway, and the family is still living there. And, excuse me, he was a fine gentleman. We all thought a lot of him. And Aunt Belle, bless her heart, she was like me. She produced no children, but she was a mother to so many of us. Oh, she was just as sweet as she could be. Just a real doll. I did this to help out with seeing what relationship we are to our cousin Sadie. Sometimes, Mr. Pate, Bob, people will hesitate to make a will. They'll hesitate to divide land or give certain pieces of furniture to a child or to a member in the family, because I think they feel it might hurt somebody's feelings, so we'll just wait. We'll wait. Don't wait. Tomorrow isn't promised. Do it today. Do it in love, and let the child know. Show him where it is. Point out the stakes. Have it run by law. There will be no need there is absolutely no need now for all of the hullabaloo that's raised about who owns what when one's parents or relatives die. Because we were born to die, and we shall go. It's like I've worked with you so faithfully to get everything that I have, since there are no children to come after me, that everything is named and designated to certain people. People that I wanted to have it, which was absolutely my own desire and my own way of doing things.